The Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Planted with Sara Payan podcast. I'm Sara Payan, your host, and today we have a very special guest. We have Grammy award-winning musician and member of Dead & Company and Allman Brothers, Oteil Burbridge, on the show. Oteil, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I got to see you play at Shoreline before the pandemic with Dead & Company, and that was a lot of fun. And even though my husband was a member of Further, it was actually my first Dead show.
Well, wait a minute. How did you go that long? That's pretty amazing.
I know, right?
Are you just into a different style of music?
Yeah, well, it's when he was in Further, we weren't together. And when I was in college, I had a lot of friends that collected bootlegs. Like they had shoe boxes full of them. And so I always appreciated the Dead. But for me, I was always more into punk rock and jazz. And then I actually had tickets to the last Chicago show that Jerry did. But I was waiting tables and I was planning on moving to California. So I decided that I was going to not go that weekend. I gave my tickets away and I thought, I'm going to go to Buckeye Lake because I've heard that that's where the shows are a lot of fun. Huh. And that's the lesson in don't put things off.
Yes. Which the older you get becomes increasingly more apparent.
It does. Yeah.
That whole toilet paper roll thing starts going down real fast. Once you're
that's it. Yeah, the time
50% through.
Even with the podcast, I had last year I was supposed to have John Sinclair on the show. And, it's John was a major part of the cannabis movement, especially in Ann Arbor when he was in jail. And, John Lennon wrote the song about him and everything. Yeah. We made the arrangements. I did it way in advance. And I should have just taken him up on it right then because the day that we were supposed to record, that ended up being the day that he passed. And it was we have to spend time. Not only do you have to act now, but we have to make the most of spending time with our elders as well.
That's the truth, man. Yeah, you got to pull the trigger, do it quick because you don't know. And even when they're not our elders, nobody knows, car crash, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't know when your day is going to come. So get to it quick. Mike and I used to have my podcast partner, Mike Fenoya, that we did Comes the Time podcast with. We used to have this thing about 6 months. Because we said, if you only had a week to live, you would do a lot more drastic changes, probably. But if you had 6 months to live, a year, it's would you quit that job or would you keep it? Would you stay in that relationship or would you work it out? Would you, whatever, blah, 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 just go down. It becomes real clear all of a sudden. So you kind of have to do a little bit of that, put a little pressure on yourself,
It's true.
Do it, man. You don't know.
You don't. And when we're younger, it's we're just chomping at the bit for time to pass to get on to the next thing. And I remember my Nana saying to me, you're growing up too fast. Eventually this will all go way too fast for you. But it couldn't go fast enough when I was young. And now I'm slow it down. Just everything changing so fast and just life the way it is. I just want to savor it more than ever before.
Well, now it's moving super fast. I see with my son that the videos are cut so fast. And sometimes he'll be watching something to learn something about a video game. And my brain can't even keep up. I'm how can you possibly keep up? He shuts it off, gets on his Nintendo, boom, 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 boom. He processed it all of that at that speed, which I think is impressive, but also has some bad, there's some detriments to it as well, which I think cannabis can help. He's a little young for that now. Because it does slow things down. Yeah. It makes you more pensive, But everything is moving at such a hyper pace. It's not natural, and it's a lot on everyone's nervous system.
It is.
It just is too much. That's why it's no. Of course, we have all this anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you and I were kids, we were playing outside. Like, I grew up in the time when my mom was like, before the lights come on out in the neighborhood, you have to be home.
That was us. When the street lights come on, party's over.
Yep.
And we would go far afield all day long. Yeah. If my kids got on their bicycles and left all day, I would I'll have air tags on them, but I couldn't. It was just a different time, man. It's just a different time.
Well, speaking of different times, what was your first cannabis experience?
Oh my God, this is so funny. So my brother, God rest his soul, I lived a really sheltered life. So I grew up in Southeast Washington, D.C., Anacostia, which is the hood. Okay. But I went to school with these really rich kids. I went to Potomac School in McLean, Virginia, 1st through 6th grade. Then I switched to Sidwell Friends, another really rich kid school all the way across town. But I had never been exposed to drugs of any kind. And so this kid in my class, this was in 9th grade, he was smoking a funny looking cigarette. And I thought maybe he had rolled his own cigarette. Uh-huh. And then I was like, oh my God, you're doing drugs. I was smoking it in the boys' room, that kind of thing, which I was appalled at because I had bought, drugs was bad, Nancy Reagan, all that stuff, just say no. Mm-hmm. Actually, that came like a couple of years later, I think. But it was still all the, the brainwashing and gaslighting and total conspiracy. And so I didn't look at cannabis as a plant. I said it was drugs, and drugs is bad. So then my brother comes home. I think it's the same year. My brother had gone away to music school. We were in D.C. He went to North Carolina School of the Arts. I did the high school and the college. And he came back. He's 3 years older than me. So I'm 14. And he comes back that summer. And I said, he's like, how's school? I'm like, man, I don't like it. I missed all my friends from 1st through 6th grade, And I said, and they're doing drugs. The bathroom, I don't even know what I called it back then.
Right.
Honestly, I have zero memory, because it wasn't in my consciousness really. But I said, it's sad because all these guys, everybody's just like doing drugs and stuff. And I don't need drugs because I told him, I was like, my older brother is like the coolest guy I know. They discovered he had perfect pitch when he was 7. So he's a child prodigy, genius musician, playing with heavy jazz cats by the time he's 12.
Wow.
So I'm just trying to keep up with him musically, right? And I was like, nobody's as cool as you and you don't do drugs. And he was like, actually, I smoke pot. And I was like, oh, what? So here my whole world comes crashing down. I would say, I shouldn't say that. It was just like a shock. I was like, but he left the state. Well, DC's not a state, but he left. North Carolina was like another country where Klans people and, art. We just and he left at 14. So, of course, he experimented with stuff in, high school and college. And so I was like, well, what's it like? He's like, I don't know, man. It's just like, you would have to try it really to, he did not try to talk me into it, because he could tell I was having a hard time processing it. And because he is my hero, So then I said, well, if Kofi does it, maybe it's cool, because he's the coolest guy I know. So I said, hey, man, I want to try it just once, So my kids just got home, so if it gets loud. So we went to this drive-in movie. I'll never forget it. I think I was 14 or 15, and I may have just turned 15. And it was a horror movie called Phantasm.
Oh, I remember seeing that at the video store back in the day.
It was, now here I am at the drive-in with my older brother and his friends. Right, so I'm the young kid, the young stupid kid. Well, at the drive-in movie was the first time I ever saw boobs on a screen, right? And you would have thought I would have been psyched, but when it happened was they passed a joint around and I hit it and nothing happened, and they passed it around again, and because I didn't feel anything, I hit it again. They passed it around, and I was like, guys, I'm not feeling anything. Well, no. Mm-hmm. So I'm just sucking on this thing like Electrolux, trying to get to feel something, Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, I don't feel anything, but I get kind of hungry, So we walked over to the concessions thing, and the guy just, I'm looking at all the food, and I just bust out laughing. I just cannot stop laughing. And then it hits me. I'm like, oh, wow, this is being high. So basically everything's funny now. All right. So I was just like, it's stupid. I'm sure they were so annoyed with the stupid kid that clearly just got high for the first time. And I get back to the car, and we get in there. And now the sex scene happens, and this lady takes her shirt off, and I just bust out laughing. And I was like, wow, I am really high. Like, oh my God. It was just, I couldn't stop laughing. It must have been a drag for them. Or maybe it was partially fun. I don't know. But it was, I'll never forget it. I'll tell you that. It was so funny.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like the first time you do it, your perception of what it's going to be and what it actually is, like you can't put words to that.
No, at least until you it's going to be different for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, I just wish, like when I turn people onto stuff, I'm like, we're going to go really slow. We're just going to use a pen. You're going to do one hit and then give it to me, and we're going to wait 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We're going to microdose our way into this thing. Not like I did, like just, jump out the plane and you're searching for the parachute thing to pull,
I love that. Yeah, I didn't think that I got high the first time. And then we brought it back to the senior we got it from and asked for our money back. He took it back. We never got our money. There was a lesson in that too.
So you never got high with a letdown.
I know. It wasn't until the second time. And then I was like, oh, because then I could...
The second time did it. Huh?
The second time did it. And all of a sudden it was like, that was the beginning of understanding that I had an extraordinarily busy mind in that moment,
yes. So did you find it, because this is what happened to me. Oh, Teal can't focus. They wanted to give me Ritalin. My mom wouldn't let him do it. She changed my diet, took all of the dyes and, processed stuff out of my diet. And when I did it, the first time I went, I just could practice for like 6 hours. And I was like, bullshit, I can't focus. Oh, see, I just cut. Sorry.
That's all right.
You know what I mean? I was like, oh, I can focus. I can hyper-focus. And it's one of the things I wanted to ask you about because you know so much about it. They're starting to get hip to the fact that these neurodivergent people like me, ADHD or whatever they are, in the different myriad ways you can be neurodivergent, that it's not necessarily it's not just a disability. Like there's also some benefits, even if not even superpower on the other side, if you can manage it.
Yeah.
Right. So how did it affect your brain? Because you said, I realized my brain was just thinking so much. Did it help you focus too, or?
It did. And it wasn't until I got it wasn't until just a few years ago that I found out that it was ADD, because I learned that, back when we were younger, they always just looked at, boys who were running around doing something. They're like, okay, that's ADD. But for us girls, it was like, oh, she daydreams. Oh, she's really smart. But if she applied herself, I'm like, but you don't understand like all the different thoughts that are like running in my head. And so as we started to get more into non-euphoric cannabinoid in smaller amounts, but if I have too much, it can be a little distracting.
Yeah.
CBG like gets me
G.
right. Yeah,
I don't
G.
even know what the G is. I never heard of D, but
yeah.
they got G now, and I need to check that out.
You do. It's cool. It's like CBG is also known as the mother cannabinoid, because all cannabinoids start out as CBG, and then as the plant develops, it goes into all the other cannabinoids. So it's one of those ones that we're starting to see more of. But I like CBD. It makes me a little spacey, but it helps me be calm. But CBG gives me clarity and focus. And so with a little bit of THC, it's really, really nice for that.
I need to get onto that, because I stopped drinking alcohol for the most part when I got diagnosed with my heart condition. It's the same one that killed my brother. And so I started drinking non-alcoholic beer because I figured that the really good beers are going to make good non-alcoholic ones, because they have a rep to keep up. It's not like O'Doul's or whatever back in the day. And I was like, damn, I mentioned that on the road, I said, it really bugs me that my brain is so easily fooled that I still get a buzz even though there's no alcohol in this beer. And Steve Kimmock said, oh, it's the hops. I was like, what? He said, it's the hops. I used to live on a hippie commune in the 70s in California, and we grew hops, and we would just get stoned out of our minds. He's like, you're getting the buzz. You're getting it from the hops. And I'm like, holy crap, all these years I could have been getting the buzz. I had nothing. Now I could day drink. I can drink in the car next to the cops. But I'm like, wow, maybe the CBG thing is kind of the same thing as the non-alcoholic beer. Although I don't have any kind of hangover from THC. I kind of like, I like it. But like you say, that dosage you got to be, that's why I like my flower vape. I don't like getting so stoned.
Yeah.
That it just like, I can't do anything but watch a video or something. But I like that thing to take me down the rep, that give me the clarity and the hyper focus.
Yeah.
To write music, practice, all that.
Humboldt Family Farms is rooted in the legendary hills of Northern California, where cannabis isn't just grown, it's lived. As one of the top sun-grown cannabis brands in the state, Humboldt Family Farms represent a collective of multi-generational family-run farms deeply committed to sustainable practices, environmental stewardship, and the craft of cultivation. Every harvest reflects decades of knowledge and a deep respect for the land, the plant, and the people who enjoy it. Now, they're partnering with Surfer Magazine and Embark for a first-of-its-kind collaboration, the first time in Surfer's 65-year history that they've ever partnered with a cannabis brand. The drop includes Humboldt Family Farms' iconic Maui Wowie flower and Hawaiian Fanta pre-rolls. You'll find the collab exclusively at Embark locations across California, and a limited number are dropping as part of Embark's weekly Getaway Bag series, a fresh tote every Friday packed with California's best cannabis. And it sells out every time. Embark has earned its place as California's most trusted cannabis dispensary, but they're not just selling cannabis. They're creating experiences that connect people to the plant and proving that it can be a force for good. They're pioneering what normalization looks like, bringing legal sales and consumption to places no one thought possible, like the California State Fair and Cali Roots. This summer, they'll do it again at Dead & Company's 60th anniversary in Golden Gate Park, followed by their 5th year at Outside Lands, with Humboldt Family Farms right alongside them. Every Embark location gives back 1% of sales to its local community, helping fund youth drug prevention programs and logging thousands of volunteer hours across California. A collaboration like this with Surfer Magazine and Humboldt Family Farms is an extension of this mission. It proves that cannabis can exist in mainstream culture, that it belongs in iconic spaces alongside one of the most demanding sports in the world. This is what progress looks like. For more information, visit Humboldt Family Farms at humboldtfamilyfarms.com, Embark at goembark.com, and Surfer Magazine at surfer.com. Yeah, well, and with the hops, too, you've got all those terpenes. So that creates a lot of the effects as well. And hops and cannabis are from the Cannabaceae family. So they're related.
So they're, see, the body, that's what I'm saying, like nature, this is my whole thing about, the government. I'm a conspiracy theorist at heart because it starts at birth with Santa Claus. And then when you find out about it, now
right?
You're a co-conspirator.
That's right.
Right? But we know this is bullshit when it comes to, I did it again, when it comes to cannabis, because we have the receptors in us. It's like, why it can't be bad if we are wired, if we were made for it and it was made for us. Clearly. Yeah. By who or what, I don't even care. There's a design and they fit together like lock and key.
They do.
So get out of here with this crap.
Well, that's it. And the fact that we create our own endogenous cannabinoids. But I mean, that's one of the conversations.
Wait. We do what?
Yeah. So
we create our own endogenous cannabinoids?
Yeah. So like for women, when we give birth and we breastfeed, the anandamide that our bodies possess.
Pop them out. You just pop them on. They turn on?
It comes in our milk for our children. So you're actually giving your kids cannabinoids through breastfeeding.
Whoa. See, come on, man. You can try to legislate against nature all you want. Mm-hmm. Long term, you're going to lose. You're going to lose.
You're never going to win that one because nature is patient.
It's just too right. Once I found it, I was like, they should have given me this in junior high school. If they had known about CBG and maybe microdose the THC and then do also the same thing with mushrooms, that's exactly what Stamets is saying. Yeah. The way nature set this up. You do that Stamets stack and then you just do the teeniest microdose of psilocybin and then it's just turns it all into like jet rocket fuel, like.
That's it.
Nature's just like, so beautiful.
And just, we're such walking chemistry experiments. I mean, back before I turned our patio into an additional dining room, I used to grow back there. And I'm not a good grower, just for the record. I'm awful. But when I would get the male plants, I'd cut them down and stick them in the freezer and I'd put them in our smoothies. And so we'd have THCA. It wouldn't get you high. But man, did it support your adrenals and help with focus. And I'm not saying it works for everybody because as an educator, one of the important things I always like to tell people is going back to endogenous cannabinoids. Even though we create our own cannabinoids, sometimes some of us don't tolerate phytocannabinoids. But the biggest thing around that is that's okay because there's other plant medicines we can look at. Yeah. But, if somebody doesn't have a good experience, you want to encourage them to still be curious about other things so that they don't think, it's very human to think if it's not good for me, it must not be good for everybody else.
Yeah, and everybody's different.
Yeah.
My wife, it just, like, she used to be way into it, and now it does not agree with her at all. It screws up her sleep. It screws up her work. It screws up her just general sense of well-being. It just is not good.
Yeah.
And so it's,
Yeah, so sometimes you have to take a break or sometimes you have to just forgo. But as we grow older and things change, hormones change.
Yes.
It is so impactful. Like even Jeff, like before we were together, apparently the man always had a fanny pack full of weed and was, like a big fan of the Wake and Bake. Now he's my 2-hit wonder in the evenings. And he's like, that's enough. That's all I need. But it's like knowing yourself is so important.
Yeah, and knowing when your changes.
Yeah, talking about just like how the world is and how we're constantly being distracted by social media, video games, technology, what have you. I think cannabis is this amazing opportunity when we're looking at how it is with our bodies, and especially when we're first establishing our relationship with it and what our dosage and ratios are. That it's a call for grounding to like take a moment and really see how you feel in the moment before you consume, and then be really cognizant of like how that impacts your body, and then how do we take that into other parts of our world where
Yeah. Scary thought when I think about what I put in my body. Just food wise, it's the food
right.
thing that really is such a battle.
Mm-hmm.
It's poison, and I
Yeah.
like the taste of that poison as much as anyone, man.
That's it. Well, and even with like, some of the best of intentions with enrichment and things like that, it can cause harm because I worked in nonprofit and civil rights before I got into cannabis. And then I ended up having stage 3 colon cancer. And like I said, I've always liked cannabis, but that was when I first used it medicinally,
Yeah.
And just really looking at how impactful that was, and just like everything you put in your body creates a reaction. But a friend of mine was getting her PhD in nutrition at UC Davis, and she was working in a USDA lab. And she called me and she's like, Sarah, there's a reason that you got colon cancer in your 30s instead of in your 60s like your great grandmother. And it was because they were enriching wheat products with folic acid to help people in areas where they may not have as good of access to healthy food with birth defects. And it was incredibly successful for helping with that. But for those of us with certain predispositions to cancers, it has them come on sooner. It's actually kind of helps with the growth. And I was like, what are you telling me? I'm like, so when did this happen? Like in the 70s? No, she's like, no, they started doing this in the 90s. And that wasn't
in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Wow.
So, now I'm really careful about getting organic wheat products that aren't enriched because for my body, it's not good.
Wow. Man, I gotta know this for my kids. Yeah, it's all, again, like, I've never trusted the FDA or the USDA or any of these DAs because you said cigarettes and alcohol was okay and that cannabis wasn't. So,
yeah.
And mushrooms, it's like you're completely full of it. Like it's all, people are like clutching their pearls that it's all going downhill now, which it is. It's getting burnt down, but I'm like, I could never trust it for as long as I've been alive. They're trying to make me into a criminal over a plant. Like, get out of here.
That's it. And when we get so many, I've worked with so many people who no longer use opiates, benzodiazepines, because they've been able to use cannabis medicinally.
Yeah. Benzos that'll kill you coming off of those things, man.
That's it.
Yeah. I'm certainly glad when I got my medical card in Florida, I got to vote that in. We got over 50% for recreational here in Miami this year, but you need 60. I was like, are you serious? What a bunch of bureaucratic BS. But I know it'll pass soon. But when I was able to go get my medical marijuana card, the first dispensary I went to, I pulled out of the parking lot. I put the thing on the seat beside me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm looking at it and it's like my prescription. And it says the doctor's name. I sat on the seat and I pull out of the parking lot of the dispensary and a cop pulls up right behind me. And so it was the first time in my life that I was 0% anxious, nervous, worried, anything.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, what a day this is. It took a long time. I was in my 50s. But here we go. If he turns his lights on, and now I can have my non-alcoholic beer open.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, officer. How are you doing today?
You've got your non-alcoholic beer in the cup holder. You've got your bag of weed on the passenger seat. You're like, it's all good.
And my medical marijuana card that I handed him with my license. How can I help you, officer? Yeah. Oh man, it made me really pissed off about the old days, though.
Oh,
All
yeah.
those years when Joe Biden wrote that crime bill with Strom Thurmond, the old Dixiecrat.
Oh,
And
jeez.
yeah, and I was the target, young black male cannabis user.
Mm-hmm.
You know, man, that really sucked. Voting for him sucked.
I
I
know.
hated it. I really did.
I know. But I
I
feel like
threw up
it.
in my mouth.
You're like weighing the options. You're like,
Oh,
hmm.
no, there was not even. I just threw up in my mouth.
Yeah,
Ugh.
we've had to make some hard choices with leadership in the past few years. It's been really challenging. And I ever since this last election, people have been asking me what I think about legalization nationally. They're like, "What do you think's going to happen with this new administration?" And granted, he did pass the farm bill, but he kept everything to states' rights. And the one thing that I've been telling people is, don't count on anything unless it benefits individuals in the administration. Yep, it's going to be that money. And
And I
who's
think
got
that's
that?
why it will be legalized eventually because
Yeah,
there's just too much money.
there's too much on the
Yeah.
table.
Everybody loves it,
Yeah,
even the ants and the birds.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. But the thing is, when we start looking at that, because, California, we've made a lot of mistakes. Like we have,
Yeah.
I remember I was co-chair of the legalization task force when we did legalization here. And that was in 16 in that Trump's first presidential election. And I don't even know what the heck people were thinking, because it's the way that people are taxed, the high cost of entry
Yeah.
into the market. And then,
Yeah.
there's upset because they're not collecting enough taxes, but now they're having to spend money on enforcement. And it's like, well, let's look at this.
Yeah.
You've made it unaffordable for people to partake in the
Yeah.
legal market. So they're going back to their plug. Their plug thought that they weren't going to have a business after legalization, but all of a sudden they've realized, wait, no, because we have
That's better
variety.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
less expensive. These are talented cultivators. These are entrepreneurs. They just happen to be working in a different market. And if you gave
Yeah.
them the opportunity to not have to look over their shoulders and actually participate in a legal market, I'll bet you that
They crush
90%
it.
of them would say
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. They're like, let's go, baby.
Yeah,
Because I got the best weed.
that's
You
it. It's like, let
know?
me show you how it's done.
Yes, the competition. That's what I'm saying. It's not a free market. That's what I tell these guys talk about free market. The only time you have a free market is when both sides of the marketplace are free.
Yeah.
If one's free and the other isn't, so stop it.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, stop it, because we would crush it.
Oh, totally.
That's what I love about live music. It just levels the playing field.
That's it. Well,
You know what?
oh
I'm
no, what were you
like,
going to
let's
say?
all get on stage and let's see what the deal is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, and going into that, now, how do you use cannabis when you play? Like,
Oh my God. You'll love this story. Someone asked, I had this major spiritual experience when I was 40,
mhm.
and I quit cannabis for about, well, Paige McConnell says he thinks it was 2 years. I thought it was a year and a half. But I wanted to see, like, am I a slave to this? Like, am I really addicted?
Yeah.
Like, can I live without it? Because, in the program, they say if your life's unmanageable, if you can't live without it, blah, 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 there's some criteria to let you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it doesn't make my life unmanageable. It's a pain in the ass because it's illegal. But I hadn't gone to jail or anything like that over it.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, just for the hell of it, let me see. So I was scared that I wouldn't be able to play because I started playing bass at the same time that I started getting high at 14 years old.
Okay.
So I was like, people are like, how do you play so high? I was like, well, I learned to play the bass high. I learn the songs high. I do the rehearsals high. I do the sound checks high. So by the time I get to the gig, what's the difference? So when I quit, now here was I was like, oh my God, can I do this? Well, I did it for a couple of years and it was fine.
Yeah.
And then one day, We were in Colorado. I'll never forget it. I wish I could remember the town. But we were playing with George Porter. And just on a whim, I was just like, you know what? Today's the day I'm going to take a hit of weed. Now, of course, I'm in that altitude. Oh. And I haven't smoked in 2 years. I'm pretty sure I just took one hit off a joint. But it was like past the moon. I was just like... And so we played, I would usually do this one song that we would do for sound check because it would help me gauge. It was a good way to gauge everything. It was just a good song for starting sound check. And the solo section of that song just went somewhere. It went on a journey into outer space. And even the guys in my band were like, yeah, you should probably smoke weed again. It's cool. We know you can do it without it. But right. That was cool. It's just like, so that's how I use it because, I tell people like if someone, although it's kind of different, like someone that's never done psychedelics.
Yeah. I'd
be like, you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, like whatever. I know a couple of people, it's been very scared of it. I said, what if you lived in a house for 50 years and then you found out on your 51st birthday, there's 20 more rooms in the house that you didn't know about? Would you not go in them?
Right.
Right? So
you're getting all doors of perception with me.
Dude, you'd be like, if you know they're there, you'd be like, I gotta see what's behind that door, So I'm like, well, that's what psychedelics is to me. And now, in the same vein, I think like that's how it is creatively with me with cannabis. I did not like to play on psychedelics. I wanted to just think.
Yeah.
I didn't want to play music. But on cannabis, it definitely is it puts me in this exploratory mindset. I've never needed I wake up and need to slow down. Something slow me down. Coffee, oh my God, are you nuts? Tea, any kind of upper, never hated it. Never liked cocaine, never like any upper. Give me a Xanax. I could literally wake up and take a Xanax and I'd be fine.
Yeah.
Because I just have
your body chemistry, yeah.
I just am up. Citrus is my coffee, So I love that cannabis will slow things down and I can be more pensive, more contemplative. If it's not too crazy or ADHD or ADD or whatever, but it can have that slowing and kind of, I love that about it. You know? I love all the things about it for music and for scuba diving, for...
That would be cool.
Oh man, let me tell you, if you have trouble meditating, you don't know how to man, just do a little bit of camping or not. Just get in the water. Just go down underneath the water with other things that are alive.
Yeah.
And it's instantaneous meditative state. Instantaneous.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I just had somebody reach out to me on Blue Sky today and ask me, what are your thoughts about meditation and cannabis? Because they were using cannabis to help with their meditation and they had people that were correcting them on saying, don't do that. And I said, go with what works with you. I mean, it's all about your body because like I had Peter Coyote on a couple years ago and Peter, he's like, well, Sarah, I'm sober after heroin. So, I don't use anything. And he's like, I believe in the medicinal value, but I think that people should be meditating more than using cannabis. And I love hearing the different perspectives because what it brings home to me is that it really is about figuring out your own path with it and hearing other people's stories, seeing what piques your interest and what resonates for you.
Yeah, I find you could do it however you want it. If you meditate long enough, you're not high anymore. Meditation is above many states of mind.
Yeah.
When you really still yourself, you're you're past. It's like Autobiography of a Yogi.
Yeah.
Where he ate 700 hits of acid all at once and they said nothing changed. Because he's already above that. It doesn't even... I can meditate high or not high.
Same.
I'm high most of the time. It doesn't matter. Soon I'm going to be, let me be still long enough and I'm above wherever high is.
Yeah.
Or deeper, or however you want to look at it.
Well, that's it. And it's like when I think about like, because my background in music is jazz. Like I write my songs and I sing. I play piano badly enough so that other people can play my music better when I give it to them, you know. And when I've been in the studio working on music, one of the things that my songwriting partner and I talked about, he's like, I know you like cannabis. I'm totally comfortable. I just putting it out there that if you're going to use it before we come in, I think that if that's a tool for you, I'm all for it. And there are certain flowers that I really enjoyed for that. I would take like a couple hits, and then it's like you're on the microphone. Just like for me, it was doing the melody was more about just nonsense words going through them, and then filling it out later. But I found that I was less thinking about what things sounded like and more just being present in the moment and just letting the melody flow through me, being a little bit altered with cannabis because it got those thoughts that get in your way just gone.
It's anything I think some people have it. One of my mentors is Colonel Bruce Hampton. He was incredibly psychic, from Aquarium Rescue Unit. Your husband was really into band. And I think he had more DMT just flowing around in his system regularly. Like, it takes something extreme to, like, jumpstart it in us, in most people. But I think a lot of mystics and visionaries I think Salvador Dali is the same way. He was clearly seeing a lot of other stuff that the rest of us weren't seeing.
Right. Well, I love his quote where he says, when they asked him about whether he did drugs, and he was just like, I am drugs.
He is, but I believe that when I found out that DMT was endogenous, I was like, oh, well, there you go.
Right? There
you go. And we could get to it however. We do not need cannabis.
No.
But, nature made it for a reason. What did Bill Hicks say? If you're against marijuana, throw away all your records.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can throw away a bunch of classical ones too, because those guys were partying. It may not have been cannabis. It may have. Hash been around a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And we know they were doing all the things. Ergot was around, some of them didn't even know it.
Right.
But a lot of them did know, so what do you can't say stuff like that or believe, well, you can be an idiot. But, like Bill Hicks said, just throw away all your records.
Right.
But I really think that.
Yeah, I think it's one of the biggest fallacies. I feel like, kind of going back to the conspiracy theory thing, that there's stigma around things that make us feel good, create critical thought, look within. Because if those are existing in our world, people will realize that there's a better way to live, and they aren't as easy to control.
Yes, exactly. Or you could go even farther. What if people start discovering their superpowers? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Now, you can't let that cat out of the bag.
No. That goes back to, the ADD thing. It's like, I definitely see it as a superpower as long as I learn how to harness it so that all the thoughts aren't racing at the same time. And then I'm just like, but when you get into like that hyper focus, that's how we become good at things. That's how we create. Like there's beauty in that when we know how to maintain our thoughts and our brains in ways that work well for us.
I just wonder why that's so threatening. Well, I know why. Profit motive.
That's it. Well,
but
and we're seeing that in the cannabis space too, where there's a lot of amazing people with heart especially, the small growers. Like, they're just beautiful folks. And then we see, people coming in that are just looking at it as profit. And I really believe that the plant eventually bites you in the ass when you do that.
Well, life just does. Things are set up to be harmonious. And when there is disharmony, you get what you get.
Yeah.
Like Trump is what we get. This is what you get when you're always voting for the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Big picture. Because I realized at a certain point, I was like, this isn't helping things. Now Dick Cheney's a good guy. Is Trump going to be the good guy next time in a couple cycles?
I never thought I'd see the day where Cheney looked downright cuddly.
No, he doesn't to me. He doesn't, honey. Right. Like, if I got to cuddle up with him, I'm done.
Right.
And that's why I was done. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not voting for them. Again, it doesn't work. And B, I can't throw up in my mouth again.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go snuggle up with Dick Cheney. No. Because then literally in another 12 years, it'll be like, man, did you ever think Trump would look cuddly?
Right? Right? Like, God, I hope that never happens.
Well, I think we're at a tipping point now, but that's a whole nother discussion that when people finally realize no one's coming to save you.
Yeah.
I'll just say this real quickly. If they really raise tariffs and stuff and the poor and working class of his base bear the brunt of that instead of the rich guys that have all this money, then they're going to feel like we feel right now, like, oh, nobody's coming to save us on the DNC side.
Yeah.
Now, it's a rough pill to swallow, but we've swallowed it. And now they're going to be their turn. It ain't going to take long. This is my prediction, and we can get off politics. I'm like, it ain't going to take long, man.
Are you looking for a lasting, meaningful way to connect with your audience and highlight your brand? Well, listen up, because Planted with Sara Payan is taking on new sponsors. Here's a powerful stat. 20% of listeners are more likely to support brands they hear about on a trusted podcast. And 60% actually look up that product after hearing about it. That's the power of podcasting. Planted with Sara Payan has a unique draw. With remarkable guests, we attract and engage audience that spans all sides of the cannabis spectrum. Picture your message reaching these listeners time and again. Podcast ads are evergreen, meaning your brand stays relevant as new audiences discover and binge past episodes. It's a long-term investment that keeps on giving. If you're looking for a targeted, passionate audience with lasting impact, the right listeners are here waiting to meet your brand. Visit plantedwithsara.com to get a copy of our sponsorship deck today.
No, I think it is a gigantic wake-up call, and I think it's also a call to take care of our community, to take care of our family and our friends, and put goodness out into the world in real time in the ways that we can, because we do have great impact doing that.
Oh, absolutely. And we can make it through everything. I mean, there was slavery. We're not back to slavery yet. So, there'd just be more underground railroads. We will network laterally. All the people they're throwing out will all be in the same pile together. We're going to be fine. It's when the other side realizes they've been had, but they got all those guns they've been collecting. That's when I'm going to get scared. And that's when I'm going to go out on the street corner and I'm going to start passing out joints. Stick a joint in the butt of every gun.
Right. Maybe with a little CBD in it too.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, here, help with the trauma.
All the G, the D,
Yeah. Calm your asses down.
Hey, man, smoke this, bro. We have a lot in common. We got a lot more in common.
Yeah, we have a lot more in common with one another than we have differences. And I think that's like the critical thought aspect of it. It's, I've told this story many times, but when I used to work in a dispensary, I used to head up education for a very popular group of dispensaries in the Bay Area. And there was a gentleman who came in one day and he was like, "You've been here a while, Sarah." And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You must have seen some shit." I'm like, "Yep, sure have." And he's like, so he leans in, he's like, what have you heard? And I could tell all sorts of stories that he would be like, oh, interesting, you know. But what I told him, we want to be loved, we all want to be healthy, have food in our belly, we all want to be seen and heard. And that's what we all have in common. So, you know, can we create that space and create that compassion? Because I think that we're in a time of great fear. And that's what's separating us. And people are reassuring other people, hey, it's okay because, you know, you're better than that person. And it's like, well, I don't think we should be saying that we're better than somebody so we feel, making someone feel less than so we feel better about ourselves, because that's not constructive and it's not life-giving. And it's
also not true.
It's also not true.
You know, I hear these narratives. I always said, because I hate Bill Maher.
Yeah.
And I had a saying that was really based on him. I would say I don't hate Bill Maher. Let me take that back. I don't hate anyone. I really detest what he does.
Yeah.
But my saying was the wages of smugness is Trump.
Yeah.
Just like the wages of sin is death.
Yep.
In the Bible, right? If he's so stupid and they're so stupid, then how did they beat us?
Right.
So let's reframe it. You can't say they're stupid. What does that mean about you? You lost to them. So you're just calling yourself more stupid than them.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So let's stop that. Let's reframe it and figure out, you should ask yourself, if they're that stupid, how did they beat me? Right?
Right.
What I think we find out is that there's a lot of money spent by those at the very top, keeping us against each other, just like in slave times.
Oh, yeah.
You know, hey, you know what? You might not be nothing, but you're better than the slave. You're better than the black person. You're better than the Indian.
Yeah.
You know, look at them. Oh, they're so bad. And so you're feeling better by looking down on someone else, just like we do to them. Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't, but I say we just to put myself, I grew up in a left household, a household that voted Democrat after the Dixiecrats switched, you know, consistently. So even though I'm not part of we anymore, I just say we to be like, hey, let's put it back on us. How do we lose if they're so stupid? How are we more stupid than them? But you find out it's not that we're more stupid. There's so much money spent. We'd rather have someone to blame than to fix it, because when we had strong unions and we had a living wage, and when everybody could get, you know, grill out their burgers on the weekend and go to their job and clock in and clock out and send their kids to get a good free education, and healthcare didn't, you know, make you lose your house if you broke your leg. You know, everybody stayed on their sides. The racists and the non-racists were just coexisting pretty good. You know, if everybody has their needs met, for not having all this, there's nothing to blame anybody about.
Right, but there's a few people who aren't profiting off of that either. Because when there's that, there's that.
Yeah. Of course, there's big money in war. That's why, you know, I would tell my daughter that vampires are real. She said, well, my teachers say they aren't real. And I was like, well, I know they're real because I know some.
Yeah.
Because these guys in the military-industrial complex, if the blood doesn't flow, they don't eat.
Yep.
So they're just like Harry Potter. They're Death Eaters. You know, it's like, what a great name.
Yeah.
Death Eaters. I'm like, God, she's so great. You know, so but at Kavi school, they know daddies. I say, well, they didn't think dinosaurs were real either until they found one. I'm not saying they're wrong, but I'm saying I know they're real.
They're like, okay, she's having some real conversations at home. There's some critical thought conversations going on.
She goes to a Montessori school, so this is great. Today's President's Day. Our kids are in school for President's Day, and they had a big presentation. And Kavi was Rosalind Carter.
Oh, that's cool.
As Rosalind, she was talking about Jimmy Carter because it has to be about the president.
Mm-hmm.
But we chose him since he just passed away, and I actually got to meet him once.
Oh, that's cool.
Because I played in the Allman Brothers band, he gave me a good reaction because he remembered they campaigned for him, you know. Well, in the class, you know, there's it's a very left school, but in the class there's a couple of Trump, and so one of the kids had, you know, just full on Trump, Make America Great hat, or wearing like some kind of reflective. It was like a road worker on the side of the road. I don't know what that means. He had the ear patch over his right ear. You know? And the sign that said, you know, impeached, shot, whatever, all these things that still hadn't given up, you know, convicted. That was it. Convicted, impeached, shot, and something else, and still standing. And it was just like, wow, man. We clapped for him, and, you know, because we're all living in America together, you know.
Yeah.
But it was funny hearing the different takes, you know, and somebody were talking about George Washington and how he fought against slavery, and I'm going to go, how come he never freed him? You know.
Yeah, word.
But, you know, that's not the time and place. I just, you know, but that's what my dad used to, you know, my dad come home. My dad and mom were like in the Panthers and shit. I was born in 1964.
Okay.
So my dad, you know, I'm going to super rich high school, which we got scholarships to. We couldn't afford it. All the president's kids went there and stuff. My dad would grab my history book. Let me see what bullshit they teaching you in here. He'd be like, well, that's not true right there. Here's what really happened, you know? Just like, just breaking it down, dude, you know? So I've definitely, my kids are going to grow up with a certain amount of that.
You got to have those conversations. I didn't discover that until I was older. It wasn't until I was in college, because my parents, I grew up in a Republican household. I mean, my mom was they were both about Reagan and all of that.
Barry Goldwater.
Yeah, well, I mean, she loved Nixon. My great uncle was one of Nixon's Secret Service agents. You know,
wow.
He'd stay up all night, play poker with him. And it's,
wow.
Yeah, they play cards and hang out. And he's like, yeah.
Who needs acid? Yeah.
But then you like, you know, you get older and you start looking at things and you're like, oh, wait. Like, you're raised with certain beliefs and certain values. And then you get older and you're like, you meet other people and you learn about other ways of life and mistakes that have been made. And so I, in turn, talked my parents into changing parties, because I was like, here's my argument. When Clinton was running for office, I was like, we need change. And these are the things that we're talking about. And it was really interesting to be able to have that kind of discourse with my parents where they actually listened, you know, and
they figured out a way around that.
Yeah.
Smart little buggers.
Yeah.
Where you can't use critical thinking anymore. Tribalism trumps critical thinking.
And that's
a great book that everyone should read.
What is
everyone. It's called In the Name of Identity by Amin Maalouf. I used to ride motorcycles with this guy when I lived in Birmingham, Alabama, and he used to train troops in military intelligence in Iraq and Iran.
Wow.
So me and this guy could not be farther apart, you know, like politically or geopolitically especially. But we had amazing conversations.
Wow.
Amazing conversation. And he turned me onto this book. And the thesis of the book is, it asks a question: how does somebody like commit a suicide bombing? or strap a bomb to a kid and send it into a market or whatever, like extreme thing.
Yeah.
And Amin Maalouf says it's in the name of one of these identities. And this seems like off the subject, but it's not, because I think mushrooms and cannabis can help us solve this problem where intellect cannot. Okay? So we are tribal creatures. So we have these, he says 5 identities. Hopefully I won't get this wrong. We have a racial one, right? We have a national one, wave the flag. We have a linguistic one. We have a religious one. And there's a 5th that's like ethnic/tribal. So for like, if you're Jewish, but you're non-observant, it's not a race and it's not a religion.
Right.
So you're in that ethnic/tribal. I think he has a different name for it, but you know, I don't have the book right here next to me. So, but that's the gist of the idea. Now, the beauty of this thing is he is a Lebanese Christian. So check out how this breaks down. Nationally Lebanese, linguistically Arabic, religiously Christian, right? What is the other one I said? Race, racially, I guess he would be Arabic, right?
Yeah.
And his ethnos tribe or whatever would be whatever, I guess, denomination of Christianity, you know, or whatever. Like,
it would also depend on like where he was at, like as far as like what held more weight, your religion or your tribe that you belong to, too, right? And
that's what he says. He says if 2 or 3 of those reinforce each other, or all 5, oh, you got a hot one. Or you really just need 4. The 5th one is if there's like this weird gray area.
Yeah.
Like with Jewish people, you know?
Yeah.
Non-observant Jews,
right.
I should say. Right? So, if even 2 reinforces each other, you got a hot one. If 3 or 4 do, boy, you got it.
Yeah.
So I realized, I was like, wow, in my mind, because of cannabis and because of mushrooms, I don't really identify with any of those things, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't trust any group as a group, right? I don't trust America, the flag. And when we talk about America, we have to distinguish between the land, the people, and the government.
Yes.
So when I say America, I mean the government.
Yeah.
The current one.
Mm-hmm.
And the original one.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, sorry. Can't have them.
Yeah.
Linguistically, I should be speaking Nigerian. I didn't even know that till I was in my 40s, that's where we came from.
Wow.
Right? Religiously, my parents were raised Catholic, hated it, did not raise us in church. So I got none of that. Racially, black people sold us into slavery. So I can't trust all black people just because they're black. Right?
Right.
So and in my family, we have blacks that looked like they were white and married real dark because some passed and then popped out a black kid and ended up in a loony bin or something, or, you know, like it was. So my grandmother and my great grandmother, maternal, and my paternal grandfather, you couldn't tell that they're black looking at them. So that whole dynamic in my family already was like, we kind of transcended that because I have so many people in my family that you could not tell in a million freaking years that they're black. Not in a million years. Free of all of it. And I think I can see clearly. So we have to use this undoing of this tribalism, which is impervious to intellect.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I mean, it's
impervious to critical thinking.
That's it. I grew up, so my dad came here from Iran in the late 60s. My mom was born here, but her family is entirely Finnish. So I grew up with that in the United States growing up in a predominantly white English speaking, I'm from northern Michigan. And so everyone's always like, lots of Middle Easterners. I'm like, no. I'm from 8 hours north of Detroit, Dearborn area. Like, I'm in the sticks. Grew up speaking English. And I remember asking my father, because my father's family is Shia Muslim, why was I raised Lutheran instead of Muslim? What made you decide to do that? And my father said to me, whether we're looking at Judaism, Islam, Christianity, he's like, these are the 3 pillars of Abraham. And what I wanted for you was to have some sort of religious base so that you could learn how to be a good person and be out in the world and care for other people. But my view on this is that God is everywhere. It's what's in your heart that counts. And so that's what we were always raised with. But there was always weird stuff about, am I biracial? Am I not biracial? And then when I went back to college after cancer, there was a really great chapter that we discussed because I went to hippie college. And we were talking about, dismantling colonialism and all these things. And we talked about children of the borderlands, like people who have one foot in one area and one foot in the other. And like, how do you find your identity and who you are? And I think in some ways it's confusing, but in other ways it's a gift because you don't other people.
You don't. Nigel can't conceive. My son is not identifiably Black.
Yeah.
I came home one time and took him to the doctor, and when we were leaving, I signed the thing, and it said Caucasian on his chart. And I got pissed. I didn't get pissed at them.
Right.
Because what were they to think?
Yeah.
But as we explained, I tell them race doesn't exist. We use these terms out of convenience, but they're created things. Mm-hmm. Because what are you? His mom is a product of, fundamentalist Christian white people in North Carolina, parents. And his dad is the product of Black Panthers in Southeast Washington.
Well, that's a mix.
And when I told him, I said, we were having to, I would have had to explain a lot of this racial stuff earlier to him if he were more identifiably Black. Nobody's going to call him the N-word. Yeah. If that was a thing that was on the table, he'd already know what it is. He spends all his time trying to figure out what it is. He still hasn't figured it out, which I think is beautiful at 10 that he still doesn't know. And I think it's going to be over real soon. But
it's a hard lesson.
When we got him the books, because his middle name is Mandela. And so we got books about Nelson Mandela. We had to get books about Martin Luther King and slavery and all these things because, he's got to know where the hell he lives. And when I told him that me and his mother couldn't have gotten married, back when miscegenation was still the law, mm-hmm. and that I couldn't even go on the beach, and that lots of Black people didn't know how to swim because we weren't even, unless you grew up in the islands or something, mm-hmm. We weren't allowed to go or be taught to swim. I know I have friends a little bit older than me are still scared of the water because they just never learned, And he was like, so we got him these little kids' books about Martin Luther King and Mandela and slavery and stuff. And I explained all of it to him. And he goes, well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, Dad. I was like, yeah, he gets it.
He does.
We were done. He was just like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I was like, all right, because he's a great little critical thinker, But I know that I'm going to have to get into more things with him over it. His heart was really hurt by things that he sees. And, I just go, man, we lead with love and we lead with the truth. But I do firmly believe the more people that use cannabis and mushrooms and explore other parts of their mind, you just realize these things that can fix these problems of all these tribalisms. They really can.
Yeah.
They cut through all of that. It's a way music cuts through it.
That's
and
what I was
art
about to
cuts
ask
through it.
you.
And,
Yeah.
you know, there's lots of things that we all have in common, like football, like whatever, like all sports,
Yeah.
you know, um, all the arts, you know, cooking, you know, like I don't know. I think, but we have to change our mind. We got to change our state of mind.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, that's it. There has to be shift. There has to be that aha moment. And then
And not just intellectual.
no, it's,
It's realization, revelation,
yep.
inspiration, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, and I think part of it, like, well, I had Rick Steves on the show not too long ago, and he was talking about traveling opens your heart and mind because you start to experience other people. And it's, yes, it can be an intellectual pursuit, but it's more experiential, and that changes the way you feel.
I think there's nothing so great as to learn how much you have in common with other people as being somewhere where you cannot speak the same language.
Yeah.
We have a camp called Roots Rock Revival. It's a music camp that one of the original drummers of the Allman Brothers band started, Butch Trucks. And my son came there almost every year. He was playing with this one kid this year. They were running around. We're there for like 4 days.
Uh-huh.
Like on the third day, 2 days and 2 nights, these two kids are inseparable. My son, I can't remember the kid's name. And they're doing all kinds of things together. They got all these cups, and they put a little gravel in each cup and a little bit of dirt, and then they picked a flower and put the flower in there, and they put a flower cup on by every single person in the cafeteria. It's like 100, 150 people.
Wow.
That's right. And they're running around laughing, talking. I thought, day 3, I learned this kid's from Brazil doesn't speak a lick of English. From his mother, I was like, I've heard them talking and laughing. And it's like they're both talking, and they're both relating and communicating and having a great time. And this kid doesn't speak a lick of English. And I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
That's what can save the world right there. There is hope. Don't tell me that. How does that happen? They were relating on a heart level.
Right. There's nothing better than that.
Oh my God, it could make me cry right now. Just wow, that's good stuff, man.
That's really good stuff. Yeah, and that's, I think, when we're getting into this time of like plant medicine, whether we're talking about cannabis or psychedelics, as long as we're treating it with respect and being cognizant of our relationship with it and being educated about it, we have these amazing opportunities to get there.
I've always done cannabis and psychedelics not as entertainment. That first time when I cracked up laughing, that was entertaining. But that was my first time. I didn't know what was happening. But from the second time on, it was used for music, right? For thinking about things. As it was therapeutic and helping me with practice, and I'm not sure the word I'm looking for, but it was an aid to practice and to writing and composing.
Yeah.
Creating, we play improvisational music. So that whole thing, like getting into a flow state. I mean, we know from Michael Phelps, I know for all the UFC fighters, like so many, soccer players, I'm sure all the athletes were smoking weed. Bill Walton's a big, was a big fan of the Grateful Dead, I mean, look at he's in the Hall of Fame and stuff. He was smoking weed.
So,
like,
when I met Bill, I'm not a tall woman, but I always forget. I didn't forget when I met Bill. He was like a gigantic ray of sunshine.
He is the greatest human. He gave me this great halftime speech. I was all mad And I confessed it to him in between sets, and he gave me this great, like, coach in the Super Bowl halftime speech. Man, I went back out there. Bill's the most unbelievable speaker. He just fixed me, man. Like, Super Bowl halftime, he goes, yeah, hard to believe he's such a bad stutterer. I was like, what? He's like, oh, he could barely speak. I was like, but he's a broadcaster. He's gotten all this. What? I went back to Bill. He goes, I consider it the greatest accomplishment in my entire life that I mastered stuttering, you know? And he just, so, you know, he's explored all the corners of his mind.
Right. Yes, he has.
He's left no corner unexplored. And, you know, just like to see that kind of like high functioning, high success rate, high level of happiness and gratitude and joy and humility and love for everyone. Like, hey man, like that's some beautiful stuff. And I don't know, I think more nature put these things here as the fix. We just gotta be, we'll get to it. Like you said, nature's gonna win. We're gonna try everything else, and then one day we're gonna be like sitting there and be like, hey man, try this, brother.
Try this one.
You know?
But
try this, sister.
Speaking of cannabis, you have an Oteil's Egyptian Kush that was cultivated in your honor.
It did. It's not being made anymore. But man, that was a great day, and that was long before I could get my medical card. So it was like I just would go to Denver. So I'd go to Denver, and every time I left Denver, I'd be so pissed, or left Colorado, because it was like the island of misfit toys.
Yeah,
it's this one place where weed's not illegal, you know, and then I'd have to go back to wherever the hell I was, in Georgia or Florida or wherever. But I'm not a West Coast guy. I'm a East Coaster, but we're going to get there.
It's going to happen. Things are going to change. I mean, I was really surprised with Florida, but then I realized, I'm wondering if one of the things in that is that you have a lot, because a lot of the snowbirds like their weed, but they're probably not voting in Florida. They're probably voting in their home states.
Yeah, but all these people, all the MAGA people smoke weed. Look,
yeah,
weed has been smoked forever.
Yeah.
And everybody loves it. All the church people, they all smoke it, black and white. Stop it. You know, and secretly, they're doing a lot of mushrooms. Paul Stamets told me.
Yeah.
Like people in the Billy Graham thing, like they're doing mushrooms. There's a lot of Christians had not had any kind of mystical experience.
Yeah.
Know?
Yeah.
I bet they're having them now, you know. Like,
wait, does that include speaking in tongues?
Well, you know, I think those people are onto something, actually.
Yeah.
You know, when you say that there's these different ways that we go left, creatively to get things going.
Yeah.
That's, you know, I don't really see any difference in speaking in tongues and avant-garde jazz.
That's a good point.
You know?
Yeah.
Colonel Bruce used to speak in a number of alien languages that, you know, we were all like, ha, ha, ha. And I'm like, I think he's serious about that shit, you know?
Yeah. Oh, well, a couple nights ago, we saw Stanley Clark. And there was this...
He went out.
Oh, he went on his solo, and he was somewhere else. And it took you there. Like, it was the time.
He was speaking in tongues.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think it's a real thing. I think all these, you know, we could get off into a whole lot of conversations about UFOs and Jacques Vallée and, you know, it's all semantics. Angels, fairies, you know, elves. All these people have these little people in their
right
cultures, you know, or you see a white orb of light and then a person comes out and tells you stuff. It's just like the UFO thing. So Jacques Vallée's like, well, in this time and locale and place, they're leprechauns. And over here, they're fairies. Over here, they're elves. Over here. In Nigeria, they're called the Aziza. In Mexico, they're called the Alush, the elves, right? Mm-hmm. And he says in the technological age, the modern age, the little people that do magic are gray aliens. With spacecrafts. But if you look back through history, the story starts the same and ends the same, They come out of the ball of light and they go, do not be afraid. It's like, so I'm like, I think all these things are real and you don't really consider it. Like, to me, Star Trek and cannabis and psychedelics and sci-fi and all that stuff all goes together. Harry Potter.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, you did a serial comic book.
Oh, the Green Thumb. I can't believe there's still not a pot superhero. And trying to find somebody to animate this thing has been tough. And I really want to find someone to animate it, because don't you think a pot superhero is like the Green Thumb and Purple Haze? It's the best story. Because, I was reading cannabis history facts, like when you see a place called Hampton, that's where they grew hemp. Uh-huh. So the kids are named Hemp Hill, and they're from Kentucky, the bluegrass state, right? Uh-huh. And the dad's he's a white hippie, but he's a Kentucky farmer. He comes from that. And the mom is black. She's from Jamaica, and her name is Sativa, And they have these two twins. My wife's a twin. So we have a twins, and they're a boy and a girl. And they're out in the mom and dad are scientists, and they're cultivating this mega plant, Mama Ganja, who they communicate with. And the dad's really more the nuts and bolts guy, and the mom is like, they're both nuts and bolts, but she's like really got the psychic connect. She talks to Mama Ganja is what she calls it, So the evil bad guys from the Monsanto Corporation, which is called Santano, led by this guy, Colonel Paraquat, right? So he comes in and they're spraying all this stuff to kill all the weed plants. Well, when they spray, the kids are out there in the field and they get sprayed playing in the woods. And so Mama Ganja covers them and encases them in crystal, like sarcophagi almost, And then when all the dust blows over, they come out and they have these superpowers, and they're like called the Green Thumb and Purple Haze. And the boy, they were going to be called Potter. Herb Potter was going to be the kid's name. But then because of Harry Potter, I couldn't do it. I was like, damn. Shit. Yeah. But they can, like, their mouth or any orifice, and then just completely render you either unconscious or incapacitated, and they can just come back out. So they have all these kind of pot-like superpowers. It's the greatest story, I just want somebody to animate, because I think, we need like a cannabis superhero. And it's still, I think Ziggy Marley made one, what do they call it, graphic novel. Uh-huh. The one we did is amazing, man. Shout out to LeVar Carter. Like, he did a great job on it. And one day maybe somebody will animate it. Man, come on. This is like, dude, it's so cool. You should see these drawings. They're amazing. LeVar is an amazing artist.
That's so cool. I love that. Yeah. I love that. And, for people to, well, actually, before I get into this, I also noticed, because you have a background in acting.
Yes, I did that.
And I saw that you were in Being There, which is actually one of my favorite Peter Sellers movies, and I had no idea.
Oh, it's the best. I'll tell you a great story about that. Me and Ricky Keller, the two gang members that had speaking parts, we had a trailer because we had speaking parts, so our name was in the credits also. And Peter Sellers came into our trailer, and he's still in character, and he's just hanging out with us, and we're like, fuck, this is the Pink Panther. Like, are you kidding me, I didn't really know about Doctor Strangelove and all the other stuff at that point, Mm-hmm. And here I am making quite possibly the greatest one of all.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, he comes in, and we're talking and hanging, and he says, I had 4 heart attacks before I started making this film. And we were like, oh, man, that sucks. He goes, yeah, during one of them, I died.
Wow.
And we were like, whoa. And he said, yeah, it was really beautiful. He said it was like maybe the most amazing experience I've ever had. Something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. We were like, wow, And he said, I'm going to die right after this movie's over. And we were like, oh, man, don't say that. He goes, oh, don't feel bad for me. I'm actually looking forward to it. Wow. And then he was gone. We were like, dude, that was great. And he died right after that movie was done. He knew he was going to die. And I think there was 4 Oscar winners in that movie. Hal Ashby, Melvin Douglas, and I think it was all their last movie. Yeah, it was heavy.
That's wild.
There's another story connected to the Colonel Bruce, which is crazy too, but it's too long to get into now because we're out of time probably. But that's a whole nother. He went to see when he was trying to explain his crazy philosophy to me that seemed completely unintelligible. And a lot of it was focused on this guy, Joe Zambi, who he kind of made into a religion.
Uh-huh.
Zambiism.
I've heard
he
of
said
that.
I'm a Zambiist, and I don't know what's going on. It's like trying to figure out avant-garde jazz, And I came to him one day and I was like, I think I did a movie about this thing that you're talking about. He goes, I didn't know you did movies. I said, yeah, I was in this one movie called Being There. He goes, you're in Being There? That's the movie about Zambi. I was like, yeah, well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. This guy, Chauncey, kind of, there's something. He's like, oh my God, like he's freaking out all of a sudden. Like, usually he's the one freaking us out. I got him freaked. He goes, well, I went to see that movie with Zambi and Ricky Keller. So Ricky Keller's a bass player that produced, at the time I met him, his last 4 records. Great bassist. Great guy. He said, we went to see that movie with Ricky Keller. I went to see that movie with Ricky Keller and Zambi, and I turned to him, I said, Zambi, this movie's about you. And I said, well, what's really weird? The only 2 guys that have speaking parts in that movie, in my scene, were me and the gang leader. And you know what his name was? Ricky Keller.
This episode is brought to you by Fat Nugs Magazine, a global perspective of cannabis and stoner culture as a bridge to the rest of the world. Right now, you can join Fat Nugs Magazine, Beard Bros Farms, Freedom Grow, and Jailed for Weed in the upcoming Prisoners Edition and help spotlight current and past cannabis prisoners and their stories, because no one should be in jail for a plant. Find Fat Nugs Magazine's beautiful print copies at your local dispensary, fatnugsmag.com, and on socials. Cannabis culture welcomes us all. That's wild.
I had 1,000 things like that happen with the Colonel. Just crazy synchronicities. He never did drugs or drank. He used cannabis one time. His friend that gave it to him told me about it. And it didn't work, He never did it, but he was it.
Yeah.
He was it. He was completely psychic, and all these kind of synchronicities would happen like that when I was with him. That was like super early Harry Potter world or whatever, just the world of magic, because that's where cannabis takes me. I'm like, you guys can have this shit. I'm going to be over here in my little magic world with fairies and elves and wizards and, centaurs, and y'all do you, and I'm gonna be over here doing me.
That's beautiful. I love that. And like before when we were recording, we were talking to you about our farmer friends who,
yes, God
you
bless.
know, just like the beautiful sun-grown flowers, and they were telling me about sharing it with you and just how much joy it brought them.
I smoked it right before I came on here. Guys, thank you. Thank you. I swear to God, right before I came on here, I had that jar, baby.
That's awesome. Cool. And as we have, and I've had so much fun with you. Thank you, Oteil.
Absolutely.
As we close up, what are some things that you're hopeful and excited about in the future?
You know, I was not hopeful about the future. I said I would never get married again. I said I never have a kid, and I had a vasectomy. And now I got 2 kids. I'm married again. And the day Nigel came out, I felt a sense of hope that I've never felt in my entire life. And every day that they're alive and I meet their friends and I watch these little magical creatures with the best of intentions, they can change the world, man.
Yeah.
If we don't screw them up, they'll do it. So it's just our job to set them up to do it. And so it's as if by magic, I completely changed 180 degrees just having them. And God, my wife is the most magical. She was the beginning of a whole new chapter of magic in my life. And I'll be damned if it hasn't just completely flipped now. So now I'm like, we got through slavery, man. We'll be all right. We're gonna do this. How have we not blown ourselves up yet? So we've been surviving on miracles, and more miracles are coming. Because I believe in magic. And so I've been living my whole life. I'm the only one in my family to not go to college. And singly 10 different times. So and it's the most amazing now. I just turned 60 and I'm like, who would think like life begins at 50? Or like the real work I would start at 60, like getting into my full happiness, my full peace of mind, my full sense of purpose, I just never would have thought. But having a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, it's just wonder after wonder after wonder. Seeing Kavi with her wig on being Rosalind Carter today and her outfit. Oh, the outfits were so cute today. Oh, my God. Even the little Trump one. He's got the ear patch on. So, I got lots of hope.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you joined me. I've had so much fun talking with you. Can we do this again?
Absolutely. I'd like to have you on my podcast.
I would love that. I would love that.
There's so many things I'd like to ask you about.
Yeah. Oh,
we gotta tell people. Yeah, let's do it soon. Once I get these microphones working again, these things, I'm gonna get them.
Yeah. Oh, and for people who want to follow your podcast or follow you on social media, how should they do that?
Comes a Time Podcast. You can find us on YouTube. And I'm on IG, Oteil_Burbridge, blue check or whatever, verified, whatever that, You can find me. The ones that are me, that are imposters, they don't have as many followers as I do or as many posts. So if you use some critical thinking, you can tell which one's really me. But I don't know. I'm trying to get off of it more, but I really like the podcast part of it all because this is like my church.
I feel that completely.
We can all put all our cards on the table, and I'm not trying. You don't have to give me no money. I'm not trying to convert you to anything but love, So.
Yeah, and just having those good conversations. That's what it's all about.
It is, and we can have them. Bernie showed us, man. Bernie showed that populism was the order of the day, but he got stabbed in the back, and now we got the fake populist instead of the real one. So this week on What'd You Expect, this is what we got. But Bernie showed us. Trump showed us too.
Mm-hmm.
Populism is the order of the day, so we just need a new one, a real one to come up, and or we just all come together and say we don't need a savior. We don't need a strong paternalistic figure to lead us. You know, it's all this. We get all this shit. We want a king. It's basically we want the savior, the king, the president. That, you know, it's like we don't need that shit.
No,
we need
just
each other,
need to take
man.
some responsibility.
Yes, accountability, responsibility, and you know, let's all just join up and work together.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Everyone out there, be good to one another. Do something good in your community, even if it's just saying hello to somebody.
It's simple. It's just not easy somehow, but
that's it. Thank you so much, Oteil.
Thank you, and I definitely want to have you on my podcast. You got my mind going about CBG and all this stuff.
Oh, I'm down. I'm down.
There's some things I want to ask you.
Let's do it.
All right. You have a good one. Bless you.
Thank you. You too. And everyone, remember, if you like listening, please give us a review, share it with a friend, let us know what your favorite episodes are. And if you'd like to stay in touch over social media, we are Planted with Sara Pion on Facebook and Planted with Sara on Instagram and Twitter. You can also go to our website, www.plantedwithsara.com, or listen to us on our parent network, Radio Misfits Network, where there are other great podcasts, like one of my favorites, the Winemakers Podcast. So check it out. You can listen to Planted wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, whether that's Pandora, Spotify, Amazon, Google, Apple, Stitcher, TuneIn. We are there. So join us, and until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, it's a wild world out there. Be good to one another. Until next time, take care.